Welcome back, Seekers. I'm your host, Julienne Irons, and today we're continuing our journey through the mother wound. After exploring this theme through practical tools and the science of the nervous system, we're about to step into the energetic lens through the language of astrology. Our guest today is the amazing Lumea Light, who is so incredibly knowledgeable when it comes to astrology, and she's going to teach us how astrology can be used as a tool for healing the mother wound. In this conversation, we use astrology as a lens to understand where the mother wound lives in our emotional wiring, how it shapes our patterns, and how awareness can become a pathway to healing. And y'all, she's also going to take a look at my birth chart and show me all the places the mother wound lives in my life. And what we found blew me away. This is Perspective Shifts for Healing with the Hanged Woman, where perspective is power. Let's get into it. Hey Seekers, if you're building a business and something feels off, like you're doing all the right things, but the momentum still isn't there, it might not just be a strategy problem. At 3 of Cups Healing, we offer intuitive marketing solutions using tarot, energy healing, and heart-centered creative guidance. Because the way you feel in your business shapes how you show up, how you make decisions, and how you grow. We help emerging business owners turn inner alignment into outward momentum, so your business can grow with more ease, clarity, and intention. Seekers, if you're ready to build your business in a way that actually feels supportive, book a free consultation with us at 3ofcupshealing.com. Your vision, your magic. Let's make it real. Together. That's 3ofcupshealing.com. And now, back to the episode. Lumea Light, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. I've been watching your content on TikTok, and it is so cool and informative. And I think the way you address astrology is so unique because it helps people understand it in a way that is crystal clear. And anytime I watch one of your videos, I'm just like, oh, I get it now. So your work is really amazing. When I found out about the mother wound and the father wound, all that stuff in astrology, and I came across your content, I was like, oh my God, she would be perfect for it. So I'm really grateful that you're here. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Wow. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I am so happy to be here on your podcast as well. The work that you do really encapsulate all of the journey of the human being, from the neuroscience part to the mental and the emotional and the spiritual. And it really just captivates all of our healing holistically, which is so needed in today's society. So equally love your work.
Thank you, my love.
Yes, of course. Excited to share a little bit about what I do and how to help others.
So why don't we start there? Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, how you came to the work that you do, and I'm also super curious about your name, Lumea Light, how that came to be.
So Lumea Light is something that came to me during a meditation. And it was just something like, oh, this is your real name. This is your true name. And I'm like, true name? That sounds pretty interesting. So I just used that as a way to, really connect with my spiritual self and separate that from who I am in the material world. So yeah, it's very, very deep and very powerful to me.
Oh, I love that so much. Lumea Light, so beautiful. And then how did you come into astrology?
Yeah, so I came into astrology through desperation, really. I
Mm.
was stuck in a cycle, toxic jobs that barely paid me, relationships with people who weren't the right fit for me, and this constant feeling that nothing in my life really fit. And I couldn't figure out why I kept ending up here, and I was seeking some solace. So I started my spiritual journey about 16 years ago. And while exploring options, I came across astrology.
Mm.
Now, admittedly, I was pretty skeptical about it. I didn't grow up in the most spiritually diverse household, and honestly, I thought it was just newspaper horoscopes. But I'm aging myself. Newspaper, what's that, right? But yes, I really was desperate enough to dive in to something that was a little bit more deeper that could possibly have the answers I was looking for. So what I did was buy a yearly astrology report for the previous year, a year I'd already lived through, so I can compare it and see if it was accurate or not. And when I read it, I was shook. That year was meant for deep reflection and spiritual connection, not for starting businesses or taking big risks. And I had done the opposite of everything it advised. So every wrong decision I made was right there, clear as day. And that's when I thought, what if I actually work with this energy instead of against it? What would happen? So I began to experiment. And as I studied my placements, the awareness itself started to reshape everything. I recognized that my pattern of accepting toxic jobs and unfulfilling relationships came from a deep belief that I wasn't valuable unless I was useful or performing. And that's a mother wound, by the way. And when you learn your worth was conditional, it really defines how you show up in the world. And so I started doing self work. I got help. I learned how to advocate for myself. I left an abusive relationship and chose myself for the first time. And eventually, all of that inner work manifested outwardly: better relationships, better opportunities, and a life that really felt aligned. So my life didn't just improve, it finally made sense. And I realized I'd been suffering from a lack of self knowledge, not a lack of effort. And that's when I knew if this information could change my life, it could change others too. And most of the astrology content I came across in those early days was really dense and inaccessible. So my mission became make the wisdom available for everyone who needs it. Because I believe when you truly know yourself, you reclaim your power.
Oh, I love that so much. And you so totally do that through the work that you do. I come from a very religious family
Mm-hmm.
where there was not a lot of opening for other things other than like Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
For me, how it manifested is like I feel like I have this lack of experience, this lack of understanding of other spiritualities and other spiritual aspects of like the world. And I feel like I'm trying to catch up now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm playing catch up.
Mm-hmm.
This is why astrology and the work that you do is so fascinating to me, is because I know that there's healing to be had with it,
That's
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
in a way that I never understood.
You're not alone in that. And we're going to dive into that once we get to the next part.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything yet, but we're going to talk about some of that.
Very excited. Lumea, you describe astrology not as destiny, but as curriculum. What does that actually mean? And how does that perspective change the way someone interacts with their chart?
Yeah, great question. So when I say astrology is curriculum, not destiny, I mean your chart shows you the lessons your soul chose to work with in this lifetime. So it's not a fixed fate. And I believe in reincarnation, and I see each lifetime as an opportunity for growth. So your birth chart is like a course syllabus. It's like, here's what you signed up for to learn this time around. For example, if you have like a harsh moon aspect, like moon conjunct Saturn or moon conjunct Pluto, which is a mother moon signature, which we'll talk about here shortly, the destiny lens says you're doomed to struggle with this forever. That's how a lot of
Mm.
folks approach astrology. But the curriculum lens says this is your primary assignment. When you heal this, you break the cycle for your entire lineage.
Wow. Oh, that's so powerful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So let's start really simple,
Okay.
okay? Because I need to do the simple things with astrology because there's a lot of the little icons and little things.
It's a lot. Yes.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I was looking at my chart before we came on. I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, I felt the same way, so I get you. We'll break it
Yeah.
down.
So let's just break it down. Let's just start really simple. Where does the mother wound live in the chart?
Yeah, so the mother moon lives in three key places. First is the moon itself. The moon represents your emotional nature and how you experience nurturing. Its sign and placement tell the story of your mother wound. And then, secondly, is the fourth house. This is the area of your chart that represents home, roots, and your mother figure, and where the moon naturally lives. And then,
Mm.
third are challenging aspects. And aspects are a little bit more advanced, but this is when certain planets cross points with your moon sign or your fourth house. So, especially planets like Saturn, Pluto, or Neptune, these show specific mother wound dynamics like emotional coldness, control, or confusion. So those are the main places to look.
So, what does the moon represent emotionally and spiritually, especially regarding mother safety and early imprinting?
Oh, yeah. So the moon is your emotional blueprint. And from a spiritual perspective, it's the lens through which your soul experiences this lifetime. So it
Mm.
shows how you were nurtured as a child and what you needed to feel safe. And it reveals whether those needs were met or not. So think of it this way: your moon sign describes the emotional atmosphere you grew up in. If you have a Capricorn moon, you probably grew up in an environment where emotions were controlled or even discouraged. If you have a Cancer moon, emotions may have been overwhelming or enmeshed. And the moon also represents your inner child, the part of you that still carries those early imprints. So, a lot of mother wound healing is about learning what your moon sign needed but didn't get, and then learning to give that to yourself as an adult. Now,
Mm.
that's from the Western perspective. In Vedic astrology, which is a different astrology system that many use as well, the moon at times is considered even more important than the sun because it governs your mind and your sense of contentment. So, a well supported moon means you feel emotionally secure and can self soothe, where a challenged moon means you're constantly searching for something outside of yourself to feel
I think I have a challenging moon.
okay.
I'm excited now to get to like my chart reading because something that I literally am coming to terms with now is like rediscovering my inner authority rather than trying to get approval and validation from things outside of me. It's like that God complex in Christianity, I think that I learned, you know.
hmm
This is very fascinating. Okay, so could we talk about chart signatures and how they might hint at early emotional wounding or attachment patterns around mothering?
Yeah, so a chart signature is when multiple placements all point to the same pattern, like the universe is underlining something in your chart. For example, if you have Moon square Saturn plus Saturn in your fourth house plus Moon in Capricorn, that's a signature for emotional restriction. It's not just one thing, it's multiple factors all saying this is your curriculum. So the key signatures I look for are the emotional coldness signature, which is Moon, Saturn aspects, especially with Saturn in the first house or Moon in Capricorn, which hints to a mother who was emotionally unavailable, depressed, or overly strict. And as a child, you may have learned that emotions were a burden and love had to be earned through duty. And then another signature I look at is the enmeshment signature. So Moon conjunct Pluto aspects or Pluto in the fourth house. This suggests intense emotional dynamics, control, secrets, or power struggles with your mother. You might have felt like you couldn't separate from her or like love was unsafe. And then there's the confusion signature, Moon conjunct Neptune or Moon and Neptune aspects. This points to unclear boundaries. Maybe your mother was physically or emotionally absent, or you absorbed her unspoken pain without realizing it. So these aren't diagnoses; they're clues that you might want to pay attention to in this work.
Oh, I love this. Okay. How might the mother wound express itself later on in life through behaviors like people pleasing or overachieving, things like that?
Yeah. So the mother wound doesn't just live in the childhood, it becomes your operating system for relationships and self worth. And so, how it shows up in people pleasing behaviors, it happens when you learn that love was conditional. If your mother's affection depended on you being good, helpful, or pleasant, you carry that into adulthood. You can't say no. You absorb everyone's emotions and you lose yourself trying to keep the peace because conflict feels like abandonment. In regards
Mm.
to overachieving, this often comes from Moon conjunct Saturn patterns, where you learn that your worth was tied to productivity or usefulness. You become the reliable one, the high achiever, the person everyone depends on. But underneath it all, you're terrified that if you stop doing, you'll be unlovable. And then there's the emotional shutdown, which is a protection mechanism. If expressing your needs as a child meant being dismissed, criticized, or burdened with your mother's emotions, you may have learned to just shut down. And so as an adult, you might be called cold or distant, but you're really just protecting that vulnerable inner child who learned emotions were safe. And then lastly, there's the longing for approval, which shows up when you're still seeking that validation you never got. You might chase unavailable partners, seek out a critical boss, or need constant reassurance, unconsciously trying to finally earn that unconditional love that you missed.
Now, you've said that you work with both Western and Vedic astrology.
Mhm.
Do they reveal mother patterns in the same way, or does each tradition offer a different layer?
Yeah, so they're complementary. They look at the same wound from different angles. So with Western astrology, it shows how the wound feels and manifests. So if you have a moon square Saturn, Western astrology says you experienced emotional coldness or restriction, which created patterns of over responsibility and emotional shutdown. Healing involves remothering yourself and learning to receive care. Now, looking at it through the Vedic lens, it asks, why did your soul choose this particular maternal experience? What's the lesson here? It might show that your moon is in a challenging position, suggesting this is a pattern you're meant to break, not just for yourself, but for your entire lineage. So, in essence, Western tells you what your patterns are and how to heal them psychologically, and the Vedic system tells you why you have them and what you're meant to learn spiritually. And honestly, that's when the deepest healing happens, when you work on both levels.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
It is.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about a harsh moon or hard moon
Mhm.
placement. When we have that in our chart, how can we move from fear to empowerment?
Yeah. So a hard moon or harsh moon placement is one that creates tension or challenges around your emotional nature and sense of security. It's like your emotional wiring has a short circuit. It works, but it often overheats, sparks, or shuts down under pressure. So, common
Mm.
examples of this would be a Moon Saturn aspect, which makes you feel emotionally restricted or unsupported. Moon Pluto creates intense, sometimes overwhelming emotions. Moon in the eighth house or the 12th house can make your feelings feel hidden or scary. And so the shift from fear to empowerment starts with reframing the placement. We move from my emotions are unsafe, so I have to shut down or control everything, to my emotional depth is actually my superpower. This sensitivity
Mm.
gives me insight and capacity to heal both myself and others.
This is something I deal with too with my mom is wishing that my mom loved me differently. Not that she loved me wrong, but sometimes it feels like it was different for what I needed. Like I wish I had a different version of it. And that's not to shame her at all because she did love me the best way that she knew how to. So for those of us who are listening to this like myself and have that thought like I wish my mother loved me differently, what might our charts reveal about what we came here to learn?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I want to say that longing is very real and very valid. If you wish your mom loved you differently, that pain deserves to be acknowledged. You're allowed to grieve what you didn't get. And the chart also reveals something profound here. You came here not to receive a different love, but to become a different love. So, whether you see it as a soul contract or cosmic curriculum, the specific maternal dynamic you experienced, whether it was distant, smothering, critical, chaotic, became the catalyst for your deeper growth. If you have, for example, a moon Saturn pattern, and I say this one a lot because that's a pretty common mother wound pattern, you're learning to mother yourself, to build an unshakable inner foundation. The lack you experienced forced you to become your own source of security and validation. If you have moon Pluto, you're learning to transform pain into power. That intensity, it isn't just wounding, it's teaching you emotional alchemy, turning suffering into wisdom. And if you have Moon conjunct Neptune, you're learning the difference between compassionate connection and losing yourself. You're mastering healthy boundaries. And from a karmic perspective, your mother's limitations might be showing you a generational pattern you're meant to break for your entire lineage. So you didn't come here to get the mother you wanted. You came here to become the mother to yourself, to your creations, to your chosen family that your soul needed to evolve. And the longing itself is the compass pointing you towards your life's work to build a new template of love starting from within.
That just gave me chills. What a fresh perspective that is, and a healing one as well. Wow. Let's dive in to my chart because we talked a lot about the theory. You gave us a lot of information defining things, but like let's just bring this into real life, right? You looked at my chart,
Hmm.
and let's just walk listeners through how astrology can help us identify and soften the mother wound for me so that they can learn from this and maybe soften it for themselves too through their own chart. Is
Wonderful.
that cool?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Awesome.
love your chart, by the way. It's you have some amazing aspects, which is so advanced. I'm not going to overwhelm anyone with those placements, but you are a very magical being, so I will say that.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I needed to hear that. Don't make me cry.
You might once we get through some of
Oh
these placements.
my
Uh,
God. Ooh. I feel very emotional right now. So, wow. Okay.
yes.
I will definitely cry. I cry all the time on this
I
podcast.
will hold space for you. We got this.
Okay.
All right.
So, Lumea, based on my chart, what stands out to you about my mother's lineage, emotional imprint, or any early needs?
Yeah, so this is such a rich question because your chart speaks to all three layers, what you
Mm,
inherited, what was imprinted, and what you needed. So let me walk you through each one.
okay.
So first, your mother's lineage. When I see Moon conjunct Pluto, I'm not just looking at your relationship with your mother. I'm looking at the women who came before her. So
Hmm.
Pluto touching the moon is a lineage signature. It tells me that your mother likely had complicated, intense, or painful relationships with her mother. And her mother probably had the same with hers. So we're looking at a pattern that may go back generations, possibly involving suppressed feminine power, emotional control, secrets, loss, or women who couldn't fully express who they were. And the weight your mother carried, she inherited it. And without awareness, she passed it on to you. Does that match
Hmm.
what you know about the women in your family line?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And here's where your Saturn in the
Okay.
fourth house adds another layer to your lineage picture. So, Saturn often, and we talk about Saturn a lot, it often represents burden, duty, and restriction. So, in the fourth house, it can indicate a mother who was herself burdened, perhaps by circumstances, depression, responsibility, or her own unhealed wounds. She may have mothered
Yeah.
from a place of depletion rather than overflow. And Saturn in Virgo suggests the lineage pattern also includes perfectionism, criticism, or women who express love through service and correction rather than warmth and celebration. So it's like, I criticize you because I care about you, might have been the unspoken message there.
Yeah. My mom also comes from a very abused household. Like my grandfather was very abusive to my mom, her
Oh
siblings, my
no.
grandmother.
Mm,
And I'm sure that's also
mm,
something that the women of those generations had to deal with a lot as well. So makes complete sense that all of that stuff was passed down to me. Anxiety, the
mm-hmm,
depression.
mm-hmm.
I know that I got that from my mom. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry to
Yeah.
hear that, but I'm glad that you're here and you're doing this kind of
Yeah.
work. So let's talk about the emotional
Yeah.
imprint, like what got wired into you from those early
Mm,
years. So your moon in Libra conjunct Pluto tells me the imprint was love is intense and it comes with conditions. Keep the peace or risk losing the
mm,
connection. You were imprinted with hypervigilance around harmony. You learned to read the room before you could probably read books, sensing what others needed, smoothing tensions before they escalated, monitoring yourself so you wouldn't be too much. And Saturn and Virgo in the fourth house added, your worth is tied to your usefulness. Be good, be helpful, be perfect, then maybe you'll be loved. And that's a very heavy emotional imprint to carry. Does that feel accurate?
yeah. Because I know everything is on a spectrum, right? Because like
Mhm.
obviously I was very loved, but there's a lot of that rings true for me. I'm getting over this limiting belief that I have that I'm going to get kicked out of the tribe if I don't contribute, if I'm not enough. 2025 was like me really healing from that and understanding that that's not true. So that's the first thing that came to my head with what you were saying is that limiting belief that I have.
So powerful that you've recognized that and are actively working through it. So, it sounds like you're already well underway to diffusing some of these challenges and learning the
Yeah.
curriculum.
And this really helps. This really helps. to make me know that I'm not crazy.
You're not, and that's a great point. Astrology helps you know you're not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, oh,
Yes,
yeah.
validation from the universe.
Wow.
So yes, and there's another placement that you have here. It's a little bit more advanced. It's called a T
Hmm.
square, and it's an aspect. And I have videos on this on my channel, so that if anyone's curious about what a T square is, we it goes into detail so that you have a clear understanding. And what it is a T square with Neptune. It adds confusion to the imprint. So Neptune is squaring your moon. It suggests the emotional messages weren't always clear. Your mother may have been loving one moment and distant the next, or she presented herself one way, but you felt something different underneath. So part of your imprint is I can't fully trust what I
Hmm.
perceive. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm too sensitive. And the Neptune fog taught you to doubt your own emotional reality. Finally, let's talk about your early needs and what your soul came in requiring. So, with Moon and Libra in the fifth house, you needed to be seen, celebrated, and delighted in. The fifth house, it represents joy, play, creativity, and being adored. Your emotional body needed someone to look at you and say, "You're wonderful just as you are. Shine as bright as you want." And so Cancer also rules your house of self worth. Cancer is ruled by the moon. So, which tells me that another core early need was unconditional valuing, to feel worthy without having to earn it. Another thing that's important here is that Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Pisces. So, Mercury rules your fourth house because Virgo is ruled by Mercury. And so this suggests you needed your intuitive, unspoken knowing to be validated. So you sense things as a child that you couldn't really articulate, and you needed someone to say, yes, what you're feeling is real. Instead, those perceptions may have been dismissed or overlooked. Does that capture what you're remembering?
There's two things coming up for me. And I think the first thing is actually growing up in an immigrant household. My mom was an immigrant from Jamaica. And while she was very loving, like I want to like make sure that that's clear. She's a very loving woman. There were so many times where what I was feeling was not recognized. I was called too emotional. My dad used to call me a fragile bird. It's like too much, right? And then the other aspect that's coming up for me is the religious side of it, which is what I want is not right. Like I have to make sure that it's what God wants, right? So if I'm failing in any way in life, if I'm like not succeeding, it's because my desires and my wants are probably not right, and I need to figure out what God wants for me. And so that's the second thing that comes up when I hear this. And that's yeah, that was like my whole life. Yeah.
My, yeah, that's very difficult to work through. And we're
Yeah. And I still work through that. Yeah.
And we're going to dive into some of the healing placements here, shortly. But I also wanted
Okay.
to share a little bit more with you about the fourth house in Virgo. So
Yeah.
your fourth house is ruled by Mercury, and so we talked about this here. And Mercury is retrograde in Pisces in the 10th house. The 10th house represents your career, where you build your legacy. And this creates a very fascinating opposition because your private foundation is ruled by a planet sitting in your most public house. So, with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, it absorbs everything, but there is a struggle to really articulate it. And so you likely knew things as a child that you couldn't explain or prove, and intuitions about emotional undercurrents that no one acknowledged. So the messages in your home may have been confusing or contradictory. And so this can spill into some of the work that you do publicly as well. And there's some healing in regards to that we're going to dive into here shortly. And so your ascendant, which is how you move through the world, your ascendant is your body, your vehicle is in Gemini. And so Cancer comes very quickly after that and enters your first house because Gemini is sitting in 29 degrees, which is the last degree before it turns into another sign. And so,
Mhm.
again, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So your moon doesn't just represent your emotional nature, it also co rules your identity. So, how you were mothered literally shaped how you see yourself and how you present yourself to the world.
So let's get into the
Mm-hmm,
healing,
mm-hmm. Yes.
right? So, what moon placement or house or aspects feel significant in my own healing story?
Yeah. So your moon itself
Hmm.
is the centerpiece. It's in Libra in your fifth house, conjunct Pluto, and part of that T square with Neptune that we talked about. So every layer matters, but let me start with the most important one. So
Okay.
your moon in the fifth house is really significant for healing because the fifth house is about joy, self-expression, being seen. So your emotional healing doesn't happen on a therapist's couch alone. It happens through creative expression, through reclaiming your right to have joy, through being truly witnessed for who you are. Have you ever found that creativity and self-expression has been healing for you?
I mean, I'm an actor, so yeah.
Hey,
I'm an actor. I narrate audiobooks.
look at that.
Yeah, and I get lost. I get lost. Like when I'm on set or when I'm in the booth and I'm working on a title that I just am like so obsessed with. It's like everything else disappears and I feel so authentically me
Hmm. Naturally.
and alive.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's your medicine.
100%.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the shadow side with the moon, Pluto, in your fifth house, just to give you a little bit of insight into that. Your mother's energy may have competed with your light or lived vicariously through you. So, part of your
Mm-hmm.
healing journey is that
Stop.
the hit, right? Yeah.
I twitch.
Yes. So part of your healing journey is untangling your self-expression from her unlived life, her projections, and what she needed you to be. So
Mm.
it's funny how you say, you laugh at that because it does make so much sense. And here's the gift of that, the moon Pluto that you have. Okay. And this one's important
Mm.
because you're built for deep transformation. You don't do surface level healing. You go to the depths. And
Yeah.
this placement gives you the ability to alchemize pain into wisdom, profound emotional resilience, and x ray vision for your emotional truth. So you can see through people's facades. You know when something's not being said. And the healing direction is learning that intensity isn't dangerous, that you can feel everything deeply without being consumed by it. And your emotional power is a gift, it's not a threat. There's Neptune in that T square that we talked about. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the wound here is about confusion around your emotional reality, not trusting your own perceptions, having your feelings spiritualized or minimized. But
Yeah.
the medicine here is that Neptune is in Sagittarius and it points towards healing through meaning making and spirituality. So your healing journey likely involves finding a spiritual framework that honors your emotional complexity. And potentially, this is your dharma, which is part of your spiritual purpose, guiding others through that confusion because you know the territory intimately. Does spirituality play a role in your healing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Spirituality is such an important part of my healing journey and my healing practice. But I think because of the way I was indoctrinated into religion and with religion, I have a hard time trusting it. And I want to let that go. For the longest time, it was hard for me to even say, like, God. Now I can say it in meditation and I can have more comfort from that word alone. But I am craving more spirituality in my life and at the same time still sort of reckoning with the pain that spirituality has also caused me from a religious perspective. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
And it's one that's quite common in situations where religion was used for control
Yeah.
and coercion instead of empowerment. And so it is going to take some time to work through the what is the truth in this and
Mm.
what was presented as truth. And you're doing that work. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's good work and it's hard work.
It's hard. It's, you know
So,
what it is? It's the thought of what we were talking about before, how if it's not working out for me, then it must not be what God wants for me. And so if I
mhm,
have this like deep desire and like passion to do something, to be something, to experience something, and it's not happening, I
mhm,
automatically distrust God. I automatically like there's like this lack of trust for the universe that the universe doesn't want it for me. God doesn't want it for me. And so it
mhm.
becomes like there's this little feeling of like resentment. within it.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's powerful. And it is definitely connected to your Saturn in your fourth house as well, because Saturn represents delayed gratification. So
Mm.
part of your lesson of the mother wound is learning how to wait until something is matured enough for you to step into it in your fullness, because Saturn is trying to bless you, but Saturn also prepares you for the blessings that you are meant to receive. So there is connection there to everything that you're saying that's valid. And part of that is learning patience and to trust the divine through this process of healing and knowing that divine timing is the right timing.
Yeah.
One more thing that's fascinating is Cancer rules your second house of self-worth and resources, like I had mentioned. And this means your emotional healing is your abundance work. So as you heal your mother wound, you'll notice shifts in how you value yourselves, how you relate to money, what you believe you deserve, because they're not separate, they're part of the same path. So I know you had mentioned the work that you do as an actress and the being a someone who does voiceovers for Audible books. When you started doing that kind of work, did you notice how you started to ask for more, to value yourself more, to see what the potential was, or the growth of your finances?
Yeah, when I started, this is like pre-pandemic. Things changed a little bit in the industry since then, but pre-pandemic, I was like booking and having so much fun on set, and I was like working with like Viola Davis and
Ooh,
like, like Rob Lowe. I was doing really good work, and it did make me feel like, like, yeah, like empowered and, like I finally found my footing.
yes, powerful, powerful.
So I know that astrology is a lot about like patterns and lessons. What do you see that my soul may have come here to learn through my mother-child dynamic?
Yeah, so this is where we move from psychology to the soul contract. And I want to frame this through Saturn because we've already talked about Saturn in your fourth house as a signature. But let me talk about what Saturn is developing in you. So, Saturn is called the Lord of Time and the Great Teacher. It doesn't give lessons through abundance, it gives lessons through withholding, which we touched on. And there's spiritual wisdom in that. When something isn't handed to you, you have to build the muscle yourself, and that muscle becomes yours forever. So the first lesson isn't just you didn't get a stable foundation, it's you are becoming the foundation. And Saturn in the fourth house creates people who eventually become the elders, the anchors, the ones that others lean on. You're not just healing your own mother wound, you're developing the capacity to hold space for others who are healing theirs. And that's Saturn's long game. The lack, it wasn't random, it was preparation. And here's what's beautiful: Saturn rewards time and effort. The very thing that felt like deprivation in your 20s becomes authority and wisdom in your 40s. So you'll know things about emotional safety, inner stability, and self mothering that people with easy fourth houses will never understand from the inside. So, do you see that shift?
Tell me if I'm hearing this right. What I'm learning, what my soul came here to learn is not just for me, it's for the collective, it's for my lineage, it's for my ancestors, but it's also for like my nibblings that have come after me, for my sisters. That's a part of the wisdom that I'm learning to be able to share it with them and to heal others as well. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay,
That's exactly right. You got it.
cool.
Yes.
Oh, that is really cool.
You are the one. You are the one.
Yeah, it's sort of like, you know what it does? It sort of makes the pain kind of worth it because it can be very scary and very like
Mm, mm.
challenging, but I'm like if I can be a light and if I can help other people on their path and if I can help other people heal, then I'm willing to take that on. And I guess I have no choice because it's in my chart. So,
Right. I mean, that's what you came here for.
yeah,
Your pain has purpose,
my pain has
and
purpose.
that's right. And when you align with that chart and you learn your lessons, you become so powerful in helping Source fulfill the mission of reclaiming positive energy here in the world.
So powerful.
Hmm. Yes. And now Saturn doesn't work alone in your chart. It also works with your moon conjunct Pluto, which we talked about quite a bit as well. So
Mm.
the second lesson is about reclaiming your right to shine without permission. Okay. So, yes, ma'am, we're getting into it. So, so
Okay.
your north node is in Leo in the third house. So what a north node is essentially the north star of what your soul is aiming towards in a specific lifetime.
Okay.
So these are characteristics that you're still developing, you're still learning, but as you aim for those characteristics, you begin to get more empowered and more aligned with your divine purpose. So again, your North Node is in Leo in the third house, combined with your moon in the fifth house, says that your soul came here for visibility, creative expression, and using your voice boldly. But Saturn in the fourth and moon conjunct Pluto create the obstacle course.
Mm.
So at home, where being too much wasn't safe, where your light may have threatened someone, where you learn to dim yourself, is where you are working through those challenges. So your soul designed that tension on purpose. It's like building muscle through resistance. You didn't come here to shine because it was easy. You came here to shine because you earned it. That's what gives you your respect, because you reclaimed it from the patterns that said you couldn't do it. And that's a very different kind of radiance than someone who was celebrated from day one. It forges something that's very unshakable, something very powerful that others can lean on.
Very empowering. Wow. I was not expecting all this. That is crazy.
Yes, we're here to just show the patterns, and you're living it. You're living your healing. So
This is really kind of blowing my mind because I didn't know. How cool. And it feels so authentic.
yes, it's astrology for you, lessons from the
Yeah.
universe. So
Yeah.
um this leads to the third lesson, and that is you came here to alchemize the lineage. So when Pluto touches the moon, we're looking at ancestral patterns. So women in your line who suppressed their power, who made themselves small, who passed down the message that shining wasn't safe. Your Saturn says you will do the work. Your Pluto says you will transform what you inherited. Your North Node says you will do it visibly out loud so others can learn from watching you. So again, you're not just healing yourself, you're healing in public through your voice and your visibility. So the women who came after you and the women listening to this podcast have a template for what is possible. That is your soul assignment
So I'm doing my soul assignment.
in this moment right now. Yes.
Oh my God.
And that's something how it comes full circle.
Holy crap. And even as a creator, like as an actor, like all of that stuff, I'm doing my soul assignment.
Yes, you are.
That is so empowering.
Yes, you are naturally in alignment to what the divine has been asking for you.
Ah, freedom.
That's right.
Ah, that gives me so much freedom.
Yes.
Something that I'm also really curious about, because I do a lot of inner child work.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like that's been sort of the core of my healing practice is like I talk to my inner children constantly. So when you look at my chart, what might my inner child still fear, crave, or want to protect?
Okay. So this is such a tender question because the inner child isn't a metaphor. She's a living part of your psyche that formed in those early years and still operates beneath your adult consciousness.
Mm.
So let me start with what she fears because that's where the wounding lives. So your inner child learned to fear being too much. With Moon conjunct Pluto, she experienced her emotional depth as overwhelming to others. So she developed this core fear that if I show how much I actually feel, I'll push people away.
Yeah.
And the Libra moon adds a terror of conflict. So she learned that disrupting the peace could cost her connection. Underneath, there's this primal fear that if I cause disagreement, then I'll be alone. So we had touched on that earlier.
Yep.
Does that feel like
Getting kicked out of the tribe.
getting
Yep.
kicked out of tribe?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So it's still around, but it's where you're
Yeah.
working through it.
Working through it all. All of that. Everything you just said is right on. Right. You hit everything on the head. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And here's what she's still craving, what she still needs. So She craves being seen and celebrated, not just acknowledged. So, with Moon in the fifth house and your North Node in Leo, there's this deep hunger for someone to say, I see you, you're special, shine as bright as you want, I can handle it. And she craves emotional safety that doesn't come with conditions. Moon conjunct Pluto creates this longing for someone who can hold her intensity without flinching, controlling, or withdrawing. So depth and safety come together. Does this resonate with your experience?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, you keep hitting everything on the head. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Now, here's the protection piece, and this is where it gets really interesting. So, everything she
Mm.
learned to protect herself is exactly what you came here to express. So, she built walls around her authentic emotional truth because it felt dangerous. She developed what we might call a false self to interface with the confusing external world while keeping her real self tucked away. And she learned that her sensitivity, her intuition, her bigness, all of it needed to be hidden to be safe. So the beautiful paradox is that your healing work now is gently showing her that what once needed protection is now ready to be lived. What she's been protecting all of these years, that's your medicine. That's what the world needs from you, to let all of that bigness, let all of that sensitivity, let all of her intuition out out into the world to be seen.
I've been literally working on that.
This seems timely then.
Oh my God. I literally have been working on exactly that. That is wild. That is so wild. I did not know this is all in my chart.
Yes, all of it. And this is just one story about your mother wound. That's it.
And what's so interesting too, though, is like somehow on some level, even without knowing what was in my chart, my soul, my inner being, my higher self, because that's what I've been really tapping into recently this past year is like my higher self and like following my instincts and what she is saying I should follow. And that's the path that she's been leading me on, is this exact thing that you're talking about.
Yes, and this is why I love astrology. I love how you said that. I am a firm believer of listening to your highest self and following that divine path because your highest self can see things from the highest point. And the astrology map is genuinely just the blueprint, the picture, the snapshot that the universe had of all of the energies that would be affecting you in your lifetime. Your highest self knows this already. So it can
Yeah.
guide you there naturally. And the astrology just adds a layer of confirmation.
Let's talk about my strengths
Okay,
and my gifts.
the good
Let's
part.
talk about it. Let's talk about
Let's do
it.
it.
I want to see what makes me shine.
There she is.
Yes. So,
Oh,
where do you see my strengths, my gifts, or any medicine in my chart that can support remothering and emotional safety for myself?
okay, great. So this is where things get empowering. So let's start with the most powerful one, Venus in Aries in your 11th house. So this opposes your Moon Pluto conjunction that we've been talking about, which creates tension. But it is also your medicine because Venus in Aries is the fiery, protective mother. She's not soft or yielding, but she's the mother who would burn down an entire village to protect her children.
Mm.
So this gives you a capacity for radical self-love, not the gentle, I accept myself kind, but the fierce, I will fight for myself kind. So when your inner child feels threatened, Venus and Aries can step in and say, not on my watch.
Mm.
Have you ever felt that energy come up trying to protect you?
I think that if you were to ask my sisters out of the three of us who would fight, it would be me. Like if I feel like I'm threatened, my inner child's threatened, if my sisters are threatened, I'd be the first one to throw down.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
your Aries
fiery.
ruling the 11th house. That's right,
Yeah.
fiery. Here's a beautiful resource that ties directly to your North Node in Leo, also in the third house, which is Jupiter and Mars together in Virgo. So Jupiter represents expansion, faith, abundance. Mars is action, courage, and drive. So together in your third house of communication, learning, and daily environment, they give you the capacity to speak and teach your way into healing.
Mm.
So Virgo's presence means you can be very precise, very practical, and service oriented in how you share what you know, hence your podcast.
Yeah.
And this isn't abstract wisdom, it's grounded, useful guidance that helps people take action.
Yeah.
And this conjunction supports your remothering by giving you the tools to articulate what you've learned, build community through your words, and create daily practices that reinforce your healing. So your voice isn't just for expression, it's a vehicle for transformation, both yours and others.
Oh, I like that. I'm smiling so hard right now.
There you go. Yes, all the confirmation you need of the work that you're already doing is
Yeah.
beautiful alignment. I
Yeah.
love that you're in alignment.
Yeah.
Now here's one that really moves me, and that's your moon in the fifth house, the house of joy, play, and the inner child. So she's not buried in a hidden corner of your chart. She's right there in the house that says joy is medicine. So your healing can happen through making art, dancing, playing without it having to mean something, any activity that brings genuine delight. And when you allow yourself to uncomplicate happiness, you're proving to your inner child that it's safe to feel good. The final piece that really ties everything all together is Cancer that quickly enters into your second house. Cancer is the sign of the mother archetype.
Mm.
This isn't irony at all, it's by design that the nurturing, protective energy you crave from the outside, it lives inside of you. So you came here to learn mothering by becoming it. The wound taught you what was missing. Cancer in your chart shows you that you have the raw material to provide it for yourself. Your soul didn't send you here into this mother wound without any provisions. It packed everything you needed, and your job now is to unpack it so you can use all of the tools and resources
Mm.
through the circumstances you're experiencing.
Yeah. And that again is the work that I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is so in alignment. Like a year ago, I wouldn't have understood this, I think, as much as I understand it now because of the work that I've been doing in the past year, mothering myself, reparenting myself,
Mm-hmm.
healing that part of
Mm-hmm.
me that feels so scared of being seen
Mm-hmm.
because she's too
Mm-hmm.
much.
The right timing, divine timing.
Divine timing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. This has been so illuminating. Now, somebody who's listening is looking at their chart right now. How can they use what you just did with mine to understand themselves?
So what I just did with your chart, it isn't magic. It's a process anyone can learn. So let me break it down of what I was actually doing so listeners can try it for themselves.
Yeah.
The first thing is I wasn't just reading definitions. I was asking how might this have felt to live? So when I saw your Saturn in the fourth house, I didn't just think difficult childhood. I asked myself, what would it feel like to grow up in a home where love was tied to performance, where criticism was the language of care? Then I checked with you, does that resonate? So when you look at your own chart, don't stop at the textbook meaning. Ask yourself,
Mm.
what would it have felt like as a child? Does this match my experience? Second, I look for how placements echo or compound each other. So your chart doesn't have just one mother wound signature, it has several that reinforces the same thing. Saturn in the fourth house, earn your worth. Moon conjunct Pluto says love is intense and conditional. Moon in Libra says keep the peace. Neptune squaring the moon says trust your perceptions, but also don't. They're not separate wounds, they're variations on a theme. So when you look at your chart, ask, what is the reoccurring message? What did multiple placements teach me about love, safety, or my worth? And then third is I connected the wound to the medicine. So I didn't just show you that you were hurt and said, okay, good luck. I showed you where your healing lives. Your North Node in Leo, your Venus in Aries, your Moon in the fifth house, because the chart is always going to provide both. So when you find a painful placement, ask, what else in my chart might be the antidote? Where do I have strengths? Where am I expanding? Where is my permission to heal? And then
I see.
finally, the most important part is I made space to feel. So I kept checking in. Does that resonate? Does that track? Because the chart is just a map. Your body and your memories are the territory. So if something in your chart makes you emotional, that's not a problem. That's the point. That's the wound
Right.
saying, yes, you found me. So it's not about the mental aspects of just analyzing your chart. You want to sit with it let it bring things up, journal about what surfaces. The understanding you're looking for, again, isn't intellectual, it's felt. So that's the process.
And do you yourself offer readings for people?
Yeah, so I'm on the verge of offering readings for folks. My reading should be available in the next few weeks, which you'll be able to book a session with me through my TikTok in my link in bio.
Okay, Seekers, I think this is a really great place to take a break. We'll be right back with the episode. Here's a perspective shift. Your business doesn't need more pushing, it needs alignment. At 3 of Cups Healing, we offer intuitive marketing solutions using tarot, energy healing, and heart-centered creative guidance. We help emerging business owners turn clarity into momentum and vision into action. So, Seekers, if you're ready to grow your business with more intention and ease, book a free consultation with us at 3ofcupshealing.com. Your vision, your magic. Let's make it real. Together. That's 3ofcupshealing.com. And now, back to the episode. Let's talk more about the healing and application aspect of this, because I think that that is so important. We know what the wounds are, we feel the pain of it, but how do we actually heal this? So for those of us that are just starting mother wound healing through astrology, what do you think are 1 to 3 things that you'd have us explore first?
That's a great question. And first, I want to mention I created a free guide for this exact purpose. It's called The Cosmic Mother Wound, that walks through all of the steps so you can start healing this. So if you want a detailed version, that's going to be available in my bio on TikTok. My handle is at Lumea Light. But let me give you the basics right now. Step 1, what you want to do is find your moon. You want to pull up your birth chart. You can get this free at astro-seek.com and look for the crescent moon symbol and note what sign it's in and what house it's in. The house your moon sits in shows you where these emotional patterns are going to play out most intensely in your life. So, for example, if you have a moon in Virgo, you probably experience love as conditional, tied to being helpful, perfect, or useful. And you might notice that pattern showing up in your adult relationships, your work, and how you treat yourself when you make a mistake. So step 2 is to check your 4th house. So you want to look for the IC or the number 4. The 4th house represents your foundation, your roots, your early home environment, and the mother herself. Note what sign is on the house cusp. That describes the tone of your early home. Virgo there might mean criticism and perfectionism. Cancer might mean emotional enmeshment, where Capricorn might mean coldness or a mother who was burdened with responsibility. Then look to see if any placements are sitting in that house. Any planet in your 4th house is a major player in your mother wound story. So Saturn there often brings restriction or having to grow up too fast. Pluto there means intensity or power dynamics. Neptune can mean confusion or an absent mother. Now, what's important here is that this isn't about building a case against your mother. Okay, so the goal is understanding your patterns so you can heal them, and don't just collect the information. Let yourself feel it, like I had mentioned before. So if something in your chart makes you cry or brings up anger, that's not weakness. That's the wound asking to be witnessed. And then the guide I created goes deeper into all 12 moon signs and 4th house placements, healing practices for different signatures. But these are the basics to get started.
Can you give us one small ritual or like a journaling practice, like some sort of moon-based exercise we can do this week?
Yeah, that sounds fun. So I want to give you something simple enough to actually do, but powerful enough to move something inside of you. So this week, what I suggest is that you write a letter from your moon to your inner child. So here's how this works. You're going to let your moon, your inner mother, speak to the child who needed her. Okay. So first, you want to find your moon sign. So if your moon is in Aries, you're writing from a fierce, protective, instinctual love. If your moon is in Cancer, write from a tender, nurturing, unconditional care kind of figure. And each moon sign has a different flavor of love to offer. So set aside some quiet time, put your phone away, light a candle if you want, let yourself be uninterrupted. Then start with the dear little one and let your moon speak. Write what that child needed to hear and never did. Don't overthink it. Just let it flow from that space within you. And now here's the part that people skip. That's actually the most important. You want to read it aloud to yourself after you've written the note, because
Mm.
it, if you cry, good, that means it's working. You've gotten deep. And that means the child in you is finally hearing what he or she needed to hear.
I'm so doing that.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about like lunar cycles,
Mhm.
especially like new moons, full moons. How do these support mother healing? How do they support release or even inner mother integration?
Yeah. So the moon moves through a complete cycle every 29 days, and the rhythm is medicine for your mother wound work. So at the new moon, when the moon is dark and internal, this is your time to plant. Ask yourself, what am I ready to nurture in myself that wasn't nurtured for me? Maybe it's gentleness or permission to rest or the right to take up space, but write it down, keep it simple, one intention. And at the full moon, when everything is illuminated, this is your time to release. The full moon brings emotions to the surface. So things you've been carrying become visible. So ask, what patterns, belief, or inherited story am I ready to let go of? Feel it fully, then consciously release it through tears, writing it down on a piece of paper and then burning it, a ritual bath, whatever helps you mark the letting go.
So, what does remothering ourselves through our moon sign look like in practice?
Yeah, so I'm going to get a little bit more specific here. So, remothering means giving yourself what you needed and didn't fully receive. So, your moon sign is going to tell you how you need to be nurtured, not how someone else needs it, but how your emotional body specifically receives it. So, let's start with the fire moons. So, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. You need to be seen, celebrated, and given permission to take up space. So, remothering works like telling your inner child, you're allowed to be excited about this. Your desires matter. I'm proud of you for going after what you want. In practice, what you do is celebrate your wins out loud. Let yourself be the witness. Don't dim your enthusiasm. For our earth moons, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, they needed consistency, physical comfort, and practical acts of care. So remothering is like your inner child embodying the message, you are safe. I will show up for you reliably. Your needs aren't too much. And in practice, this looks like creating nurturing routines. Feed yourself well, make your physical environment beautiful. Your body is where you receive love, so you want to tend to it. Now, for air moons, Gemini, Libras, and Aquariuses, you need to be heard, understood, and given space to process out loud. Remothering sounds like your inner child hearing, your thoughts make sense. Tell me more. I'm curious. You don't have to have it all figured out to talk about it. And in practice, what you want to do is journal, have voice memos where you release your feelings, find people who actually listen to you. Your mind needs to move to feel soothed. And then lastly are our water moons, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. They need an emotional attunement, depth, and permission to feel everything. So remothering looks like your inner child feeling all of your feelings are welcome here. You don't have to explain or justify how you feel. I'm not going anywhere, even when it gets intense. And in practice, let yourself cry without fixing it. Create space for solitude and emotional processing. Your feelings aren't problems to solve, they are experiences to move through.
So, if someone sees pain or challenge in their chart and feels discouraged, what would you offer them as a reframe?
Yeah. So, first, I want to honor that feeling because when you pull up your chart and see a moon square Saturn or Pluto in the fourth house, and you read what that means, it can feel like the universe handed you a harder road and there's nothing you can do about it. So let me offer three reframes. So one is that the chart shows the curriculum, not the grade. And what I mean by that is a challenging placement doesn't mean you're destined to suffer. It means that your soul signed up for a specific course. Someone with an easy chart isn't more blessed than you. They are just in a different classroom learning a different lesson. So your soul chose the advanced course. That's not punishment, that's ambition. That's a soul saying, I'm ready to grow in this area.
Mm.
Two is the wound and the gift live in the same placement. This is what I wish more astrologers would teach. Moon Pluto doesn't just mean emotional intensity and power struggles. It also means profound capacity for transformation and the ability to heal lineages, like we talked about with your chart. And Saturn in the fourth doesn't just mean a difficult childhood. It also means you're building inner foundations that will outlast everyone else. So hard aspects create pressure, but pressures create diamonds. And the very thing that hurts you is also forging something in you that ease never could. The third one is that you're seeing it, which means that you're ready to heal it. So here's the truth. And most people live their patterns completely unconsciously. And they repeat the wound over and over again without ever understanding why. And the fact that you're looking at your chart, feeling the weight of these placements, asking these questions, that means you're awake. And awareness is the beginning of choice. So once you see the patterns, you can work with it instead of being worked by it. So if you're feeling discouraged right now, I want you to hear this. Your chart is not a verdict, it is a conversation. The difficult placements are where your soul said, I'm ready. And the fact that it hurts to look at, that's not a sign that you're broken. That's a sign that the healing has already begun.
I love that. Perspective shifting.
Let's do it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that leads me to what is possible, right? So we do all these things. We look at our chart and we shift our perspective. So what becomes possible when we work with the chart instead of against it?
You said it yourself. Everything shifts.
Yeah.
You stop asking, why am I like this? And you start asking, how do I work with this? Like in your chart, the Moon Pluto conjunction, you might have wished was lighter, less intense. And you spoke on this.
Yeah.
And when you work with it instead of against it, it becomes your superpower for depth and transformation. So that intensity isn't the problem, it's your medicine. So when you follow your own chart instead of borrowing other people's medicines and their processes for doing things, healing stops feeling so forced. It just feels more natural, and it starts feeling like water is finding its natural path. And here's what really shifts. You develop self-compassion that's actually grounded.
Mm.
You're not delusional here. When you realize your chart isn't a list of problems to fix, but curriculum your soul chooses, something softens in you because you stop blaming yourself for being in the classroom you signed up for. You start to see the placements that cause the most pain are often the ones that carry the most medicine, not despite the challenge, but because of it. So you start to see where
Mm.
you find your strengths and where you are naturally meant to shine and become the beautiful person that you are meant to be. And what becomes possible at the end of it all is that you become yourself, not the
Yeah.
wounded, adapted survivalist version you created to cope with the stress in life, but the one your soul intended you to be. And that's what the chart is pointing toward all along. Not who you've been, but who you are becoming.
This has been such an amazing conversation, and you shared so much amazing knowledge and insight. And I'm gonna have to listen to this episode a few times to like grasp everything because it was so in depth. But if we could carry one sentence from you into our lives from all of this, what do you hope that it is?
I hope that people understand that your chart doesn't show how you'll be punished. It shows your sacred path to spiritual evolution.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm blown away by your brilliance, just blown away by it. Where can people find you if you'd like to be found?
Yes, thank you. It's been such a pleasure reading your chart and seeing all of the amazing things you're working through and being able to
I'm
provide.
blown away.
Yeah, it's great. This is what I do this for, is to provide the confirmation and the validation that you don't get from everywhere, and to help you
Yeah.
continue on the path of knowing yourself. But yes, if you are looking for me, you could find me on TikTok at Lumea Light is my handle. And I have lots of videos where I talk about various astrology concepts. So you can start learning. And as I continue to grow, you will find me in more places, and I'll be creating more resources for you all to help you learn astrology as well as know yourself so that you can have a very beautiful healing journey and enjoy life as you should.
I'm smiling so hard right now. I feel like I've been healed.
I love that.
Lumea, do you feel complete?
I feel complete. Yes. Thank you for that question.
Amazing. So I wrote a love letter from my Libra moon, and it was so impactful and so empowering. And she just told me that it was safe to be seen. And I didn't have to hide my light or dim my light anymore because people thought I was too bright, or people thought I was too loud, or that I was too crazy, or that I was too much. That it's safe for me to be seen because that is exactly what I'm here to do. Show up, be seen, and be a light for others. Did you write a letter too? Let me know what you found. I would love to hear it. Now, next week, we're going to stay in the energetic realm, but we're going to shift the focus to how the mother wound shows up in relationship with money, self-worth, and receiving. I'll be joined by Michelle Atlas, who is a mother wound expert, and she's going to help us explore the deep connection between the mother wound and our money patterns. It's a powerful conversation about healing, self-trust, and learning to receive without shame. Seeker, if you're doing lineage work around money or worth, this one's for you. I'm Julienne Irons, and this is Perspective Shifts for Healing with the Hanged Woman. If you feel inspired, please like, share, and follow so we can keep the conversation going. Until next time, hang in there, Seeker.